Welcome, punters, to another episode of the Whispers Racing podcast live on location. As always, I'm joined by Maddie. How are you, Maddie?
Going well, Worm. Where are you on location?
High Queensland, Whit Sundays. I sent myself up here after tipping Western Empire. It won, yeah.
The family will love you for that.
Yeah, it won by 5, so I had to treat myself to the winnings after a great ride and tactics. But anyway, see what happens when you take a week off. I just make silly decisions. There's no one to pull me back into line and just say, hey, do you know what you're doing?
We live, we learn, and I think we learned no more Bob Peters horses will be tipped on this show.
No, death taxes and Bob Peters in Victoria is a no. But anyway, we'll push on. How good to see good racing back.
Oh, mate, how good was last weekend in Sydney and in Melbourne? Just sensational. The whole way through, it was a cracking race card, and it was good to see that the good horses came back and they progressed as we expected them to progress. So, from my point of view, seeing some of those horses, your fangirls, your Mr. Brightsides, come back and do what we expected them to do was good to see.
Yeah, 100% for both horses. To be doing that this early, that shocked me a little, especially Brightside, but even Fangirl, like their grand finals aren't until October, November, and be doing that, especially Mr. Brightside. Wow, I can't wait to see what's in store with the other horses, especially.
No, that's it. And even Zaki over 1,400 metres running third. That was sharp. That was very sharp with J Car back on board. So I think Zaki's one in line to be featuring in a Cox Plate this year.
Yeah, no, it shocked me. I thought it might have been cooked. Rising 9 or 10-year-old to do that. I just wonder if it was peaking first up to see if there was anything there. So
100%.
It'd be interesting. Hopefully I'm wrong because I love Zaki to bits, but yeah, I want to see what it's doing second up. But we push on. We've got to deal with what we've got here, and we're back to reality in that's subpar racing. I'm going to be previewing Moonee Valley races 4 and 8, and Matty, you're going to do race 2. Bets around the grounds, the multi, which lobbed. I think that was the only positive. We lobbed the $5 multi. Never in doubt with Cylinder. He won by a whisker. He didn't have to win by much. $1.30 pop. But at least we got something for the punters. And I think you went all right with your around the grounds, Matty. Believe?
Yeah, it was a solid day. So, I went across Adelaide and visited one of our committee members over in Adelaide, and it was good to see that Cylinder did salute because he had a 4-leg multi that just needed Cylinder to get it done. And yeah, got it done by the slightest of margin.
Yeah, it's a good segue because reading his messages on the community Saturday night, he read very interesting what you might have done to him, Matty. He was cheering for Sweden.
Saturday afternoon.
Cheering for Sweden, was he? I heard, thinking it was Australia. I don't know if it's something in the water in Adelaide or just he was blind.
Oh, well, look, it didn't make it any better that he went to the footy that night and Adelaide won the game, but obviously they didn't. So I think he may have head back to the casino to drown a few sorrows and enjoyed himself.
Good on him.
It was cracking afternoon over there. Yeah, I think all enjoyed it and all walked out with a bit of extra cash.
That's right. But good segue, guys. If you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, if you're a first-time watcher, please subscribe to YouTube or any podcast platform. Please rate us on Spotify if you are a regular listener, as we'd love to grow our rating and grow our audience, and we can't do it without you guys. So if we tip you winners, we appreciate if you could just put a rating in. That's all we want because we do this for free. There's no hidden paywalls. We just do it for the love of it. So please rate and subscribe our podcast. If you'd like to be part of the Whispers community via WhatsApp, please email me or DM me. We'll put you straight through. It's been a good month. We're 12 units up on some very limited punting, but come Saturday, I'm very keen to be getting involved. So hit me up, get them before they're on socials, because they get them a lot earlier. So hit me up because I'm pretty confident going into the weekend. questions from the community. We got none. They didn't want to play because I didn't ask any questions because I've been enjoying myself with the Western Empire money. Talking points, Matty. I know that people are going to grow in here, but again, on Saturday, Caulfield went into their new strategy of opening the gates 30 minutes before the first. Now, there was a lot of videos and photos, and it just looked horrible. A lot of backlash, which I think needed to be deserved because, again, MRC are making decisions that they think is better for racing and not involving the people that are regular attendees and their members. I know it won't last long. They'll go back to their regular hour, but it just shows how out of touch MRC are becoming. And I just think there's people losing complete trust and faith in them. To top things off here, wagering was down 7% as the same meeting 12 months ago. Now, last week we had an extra race. So 7% down. I think that just shows where wagering's sitting at the moment, and that's quite scary. I do have to thank another podcast for that information, Little Birdie. So I didn't get that on my own. They came out with it, so I'm stealing it off them. So thank you. But also, why are bookmakers getting involved? There's so many new ones opening up, and few new ones launched a couple of weeks ago. Like, this is a bad time to get involved. I think it's just weird. I don't know your thoughts, Matty, but has racing just lost the plot?
Oh, look, I think you may be a little cynical, but it wouldn't be an industry that I'll be leaping into right now, expecting to be making any cash out of. I think it's going to be fairly dry for the bookies for a period of time, and we've mentioned it before, cost of living and so forth. That affects people's discretionary income, and punting is definitely part of that. So it would be something I'd be leaping into. So I completely understand how turnover could be down 7% last weekend.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought 7%. I thought maybe 2 would be about average, but all these bookies that have opened up in, say, a year or 2 years ago, they all speak about how they offer the promotions, they take the deposits from punters, and then they don't see them again. So either the new ones coming in are getting sold the wrong info, or they just aren't intelligent enough to be doing it. I just don't know. It's just scary. Yeah, I don't know. Just some interesting facts that just came forward and thought, yeah, people should know. Clearly, the people that have stopped punting aren't watching us, Matty, or listening to us, so that's a concern.
No, and we haven't had any community members turn off either, so I think it's just a different group that we may have, but very loyal.
No, that's right, and without them, we don't do this. That's just plain and simple. And people watching at home, if you're not part of the community, without you guys, we don't do this. So we say thank you.
I guess
and yeah,
flip that on its head. They wouldn't watch us if we didn't tip the winners.
No, they maybe we're just good-looking roosters.
I can guarantee you that is not the case. But no, 100%. It's a very, very good community to be part of. And the best part is we're not the only ones giving tips.
No. Yeah, I think it was Wednesday. Someone said, "I'll back this," and I put the absolute slows on it, and it won. So yeah, it's good. If people just sharing your thoughts, there's no right or wrong. We all get it wrong more than right, but if we can celebrate the winners more than the losers, it'd be good.
100%.
Futures tickets, Matty. What have you got?
Are you referring to Cox Plate Tom?
Yeah, for you, yes.
Tell you what, this is something that I spent way too long on during the week, considering the Cox Plate is still 2 months away. Look, some unfortunate news. Looks like Prowess isn't going to be running the Cox Plate this year. And mate, I thought of Prowess, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've tipped this horse. And I went back, saw it ran in the binary stud, went back and actually listened to our around the grounds from that week, and fair to say I was very bullish on it that day. And for a fair reason. So, look, really unfortunate to see Prowess most likely not running the Cox Plate. The trainer did say that he will set it for next year's Cox Plate. So, fingers crossed we do see it there. Look, the Judd Mont was run last night. and everyone was expecting Paddington to win. Didn't, ran third. So really interesting to see whether Paddington does jump on the plane and come out. I know there were some question marks earlier on. I don't think this would have done its chances much good whatsoever. So it'll be an interesting one. And when talking about a few of these internationals, I just wanted to run through a few that are in the market and just give our community a bit of an idea of what the trainers are thinking and if they're actually going to be coming out. So, look, we'll start with a favourite, Romantic Warrior. Look, this horse will be running in a Turnbull Stakes and running in a Cox Plate when it comes out to Melbourne. Those are the two races that it'll be running in. As long as everything goes to plan, they will cross every T, dot every I. It's got scans to have before it comes over, when it lands, pre-race. So a lot of hurdles to jump over, but Romantic Warrior, full intentions of running in this race. Paddington, as I said, been overnight. Big question mark for me. Light inventory. Look, the Mark Eustace stable have said that this horse will be targeting the Cox Plate. So really interested to see what the lead-up races are going to be. It could just be similar to Romantic Warrior, where it runs in a Turnbull straight into the Cox Plate. So interesting to see how Mark Eustace handled that one. El Riffer, who's also in the market. Look, question mark on it. I would wait till this one runs in Juvel later this week. So hold for about a week on this horse, El Riffer, and we should have a little bit more information. Adelaide River. Now, Aidan O'Brien is expecting either this horse or Corio to come out for the race. He won't make a decision on that for probably around 2-3 weeks. So either Adelaide River or Corio should be coming out. Continuous. Worm. And last night. How'd it go?
Did it win?
Got the chocolates. So nominated. Ran exceptionally well. Looked like it would suit up for a Cox Plate quite nicely. The trainer hasn't mentioned anything further other than it's been nominated. So Continuous, the Japanese horse, I would just tread carefully there. West Wind Blows. Worm, you've got it for the Caulfield Cup. Yep, that's where it will go. I can't see this horse going to the Cox Plate. Look, unless it backs up from the Caulfield Cup exceptionally well, I think that's going to be its priority. Juvel Legend. Better suited for a Melbourne Cup, but the trainer has come out and said if it's not weighted accordingly, it will not run in the Melbourne Cup. So he has put the Cox Plate on the radar. So just keep that in mind for Juvel Legend. And my Prospero. Now, this is a really interesting one. It's been nominated for both the Caulfield Cup and Cox Plate, and they're expecting it to run, if it comes out, in both races. So my Prospero is a really interesting horse, and it's one I'm going to be keeping a close eye on because I think its stats line up that it could progress into a Cox Plate exceptionally well. So they're just a few of those international horses, and we'll keep the listeners updated on those international horses as the next few weeks progress, because we'll get a little bit more of an indication of which ones commit to coming out to Australia for number one, and then number two, if they're going to go down the Caulfield Cup or the Cox Plate path.
You forgot about New Energy, mate. You might want to put that one in your file to look at over the week.
I do have New Energy here. I've actually got it in my
week 4?
14. I've got it in my 14 horse field New Energy. I thought I'd just go. Seeing we went with light inventory just for the Mark Eustace stable. I thought we'll leave New Energy because wouldn't be surprised if that runs well before a Turnbull Stakes. So we should have a little bit more information on it.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like I was going to mention in my bit, but I'll bring it up now. There's something for the punters, like Francesco Guardi firms off its run. Good run last start.
Yep.
And then horses that haven't had a start yet, they just blow. So if you like something and it hasn't had a start yet, I'd back it the Monday of its first up run before noms come out, if you know it's going to run, because you're going to get a good price. And if you know it's going to run well, you can say goodbye to your odds because you won't see them ever again.
No, well, similar to Lindemann. I know we
Yeah,
got a ticket at $80. It came out, had a run, and now it's, I think the best you can find is about 34s.
yeah. So yeah, like Fangirl was $51 before
Yep.
Saturday, and now 17. So fair enough, it won. But and then you look at Crown S, $15 for the Cox Plate. So Sportsbet are taking money off people that aren't listening to our show.
No, which again was a little bit unfortunate. I was looking forward to Prowess going around to the Cox Plate, but as the trainer said, definitely not out of next year's contention. So we'll keep an eye on that for next year, Worm. How did you see the
Yeah.
Caulfield Cup over the last week?
Yep. So there'll be no betting. So people just hold on. I know you'll be falling off your chair. I have done some reviews though. So um, as as I was saying before, with horses firming after one start, and then you look at without a fight, I'm not keen to be with it at the moment, just because it needs a good track. So we're going to have to wait for the forecast before I want to dive in at the $11. But it did some midweek work at Sandown, and it firmed off it. So only came in 1 or 2 points, but it's just like, what the hell? Like, it was okay work. It's wasn't work like Globes, which I saw and thought, geez, that's a horse I want to follow this spring. He looks like he's come back well without a fight. I don't know. Keen to be against it as long as I can. I just want to see how it comes back. Melbourne Way, better horses, didn't beat much maybe in Queensland. So not putting a pen through it yet, but $11 favourite, no thanks. Francesco Guardi had good run. I don't want to be touching it yet. I want to see it over 2,000. I want to see it back to what it was doing at that Moonee Valley Cup day. I know we'll have to wait a while, but it's something I've got to wait for because you just don't know. You can't go off one run just yet, especially when they're not winning. And then Kovalica, now Waller came out, and I've said all throughout it's either Golden Eagle or Caulfield Cup, and he's reassured that again that it's those two races. Now I know he doesn't want to give away what he's actually thinking because it's the owners to find out, owners to know, not us yet. But surely you know your plan already, knowing Chris Waller and what he's got behind him. He has some smart people, and they know what number he ran in that Queensland Derby. And if he runs to that, well, he's a good chance for a Caulfield Cup. So $36 now on Betfair. I reckon that's worth a ticket. But I'm already in for 21s because he's going to the Turnbull, and that's when they decide, do they go back or forward? So if you're confident he's going to run a strong 2,400, 36s now is crazy.
I disagree. I mean, Kovalica horse we've followed for quite a long time. So
yeah,
I think it does set up very nicely for a Caulfield Cup. And to your point, mate, depending on what the international field does look like, it's not the strongest local Caulfield Cup that we've seen.
no, correct. So yeah, it's just an interesting hold. Things are firming, things aren't. But so you got like Luna Flare, $110 now on Betfair. Before it runs, it's not going to be 110 first up.
Yep.
So yeah, if you're a bit smarter than me, take your tickets now and you get a better price. But still pretty happy with where we are sitting at the moment.
Very nice. I like it. I like it.
Track stats now. I've renamed Moonee Valley now Death Valley because I don't know what we're going to get. I'm not bagging the track managers. It is a cooked track. It is well used. It needs a reno, so they can only work with what they've got as long as upper management stay away. But rail 4 meters, what sort of track we're going to get? I don't know. Last time the rail was in this position, it was a monorail, which was no surprise because rail 4, lanes 4 to 7 are perfect at the Valley. So that would have been lanes 1 to 4. We get that again. So will that happen again? I think so. So that's how I'm going to work. We know when the rail was true the last meeting, the inside was off because of stupid tactics from upper management. So it's definitely watch and act. Listen to the radio in the morning. They're not going to lie to us, but they're going to. I think it's going to be monorail. Rosehill rail out 6 meters. I'm hearing it's going to be a leader's paradise of people I listen to due to the improving track and the rail position. So watch and act, but closer to the rail might be the place to be. Just trying to bring up something that I should have had prepared earlier. Yep, I've got it. So races 4 and 8 I'm going to do from Valley. Maddie's going to do race 2 from Rosehill. So I'll kick things off with race 4. I've completely lost internet on my other one, but that's okay. Speed map. We'll go with. I've got River Plate and Irish Rockstar will lead. And they will go a solid tempo, especially with the outside gates. They will try and find the rail before they start turning because of the 1600. They're on that side towards the road. So, and it's a quick turn. So they're going to try and find their positions really, really early. King Cova and Hennessy Lad smoking the pipe behind them, not doing too much from inside draws. They don't have to work too hard. They can just sit where they want, but they need to be behind the leaders to be a chance. I'm a Shelby will be 3 wide, no cover off my map. Crackerjack Prince and Hill Rip behind that pair going well. So tempo should be quite solid, especially early, and I think they'll sit up very late into the race and sprint home. But in saying that, I'm keen to be with Hennessy Lad here. First up, sat outside the leader, went well, only died on this run late. Fitness gave away there. Second up, sat outside leader again, went well from an outside barrier. The leader of that race was King Cova, who's in this race. Couldn't go with Hennessy Lad, and Hennessy Lad only went down by 0.2 lengths. Third up now, should be ready to go, gets an inside draw, so they can either lead or camp behind them. Any worse than that, I can't see us running anything down because we just can't be that far back just due to the way this horse loves to run. Love this horse up on the speed. Really like this horse last run before the spell when it went down by 3 lengths to Pericles, and that has come back well 2 weeks ago. And Mr. Maestro, who hasn't come back, but he's a good horse on his day. So form stacking right up with this horse. Crackerjack Prince, what a win this was last start. Good sectionals home, good track and distance stats for this race. I'm just worried it might be held up and running when the race is on. Won't get that 3 or 4 wide run trip swooping around them like it did last start. But genuine chance if this can find a perfect spot from a middle gate. Legend of Dubai will improve with a better draw, can sit a lot closer when it was back and wide last start. Zara, positive jockey change. Chance from last start might be this. It's a chance off its last start run. It was back wide and ran on nicely. Can sit closer. If there's any indications from rolling forward from an inside draw with marks are on, I think at around $11, this could be the each way play. But keen to kick things off here with Hennessy Lad. Matty.
Very good. I'm glad you spent a bit of time on Crackerjack Prince. I was going to ask you about that, but I think you covered that off quite well. Really good run at last start at that $12 SP. It's around about 5th in the run, but really covered some ground quickly. So interested to see how that goes around. The other one you also mentioned was Legend of Dubai. Coming from overseas, it gets out to about 2,000 metres. So interested to see how it goes across the 1,600. I think this is more of a progression race for it, but I can definitely see how you've landed on. Where are we?
Race 4.
Hennessy Lad.
Yeah.
Was the one you landed on.
Yeah.
Especially from its last 2 starts, it looks like it is just winding up quite nicely. Barrier number 3, Luke Nolan on board. You would imagine it's going to be positive. From there, the map should be really good for it. So, look, I think Crackerjack Prince and also Hennessy Lad for me.
Yeah, and you got to look at the race. Like he'll rip, lovely win last start, but he got the perfect run on the inside when it opened up, kicked away, had a jump out since, went okay, but he's found his mark. I'm a Shelby. He was okay, good win. Not knocking it, but it just for this, no thanks. I just think Hennessy Lad has more bigger future. Crackerjack Prince has a future. Legend Dubai has a future. The rest have either found their mark or they are dead set cooked.
I could not find a case for anything outside. For me personally, those two, I'm quite comfortable to leave Legend of Dubai out of this one.
Yep. Race 2, rosehill, Matty. You want to look at it?
Yeah, mate. Interesting race here, race number 2. I think we should be able to find one here. From a speed map perspective, Too Much Caviar, which is definitely in the market around about that $5 mark. I'm expecting it to go forward. Mayfair Spirit which was actually nominated for your race worm, been scratched in all run up in Sydney. It'll probably sit behind Too Much Caviar, and then you'll have a bunch of them that do like to sit midfield. Wine Glass Bay. It'll be interesting to see what J-Mac does from barrier number 1. What he's had to do the last 2 starts is from wide gates, go forward, sit outside, try and find some cover. So if you've got the odds there for us, we'll run through a few of these.
Yeah, give me 2 seconds. I've actually got internet again. So Wine Glass Bay is $2.40. Too Much Caviar $5. Little Mix $7.50. Traveling Kate $8, and Yukon $10 and $14 the rest.
Perfect. Thank you very much. It's as I mentioned, Too Much Caviar will head forward. Interesting to hear you say that it's going to be a leader's paradise. That's somewhat concerning, but I can't take Too Much Caviar at $5 here. I probably couldn't even take it at $8. So I wouldn't imagine over the 2,000 metres, stepping up from 1,800 metres. It didn't run the last 200 out exceptionally well. So for me, I couldn't steer anyone into Too Much Caviar here. One at odds that I think it'll run better than what the market's telling us is actually Boot Scooter. It's around that $20, $21 mark at the moment. Now, this horse is way over the odds. Got a long way back last start. It was second last, came wider than Bend, and almost got on level terms with the leaders, Wine Glass Bay, at the 200 metre mark. Hit the line well. $20 is way overs. Now, I'd be surprised if this horse got the chocolates, but a place, definitely not out of the question. Worm, I have landed on Wine Glass Bay. Now, I know that we've been on this the last 2 starts and we've seen it run second twice. But at that 250 mark, it is a lot more appealing. From barrier number 1, J-Mac doesn't need to go round them like he has previously. He'll have a little mix, which will probably jump at about the same. He'll have Too Much Caviar come around its outside. So he should be sitting one back on the rails. All he needs is a little bit of luck when it does come to the rails or to come to the corner. And he shouldn't get too much traffic. So I don't think it necessarily needs to go forward like it has in its previous 2 starts because it's been sitting wide. But I think you'll find that it'll be just sitting in that midfield range on the rail. And over 2,000 metres, you do find those gaps do open up. So Wine Glass Bay, over that 2,000 metres, which is definitely going to suit this horse, I expect J-Mac to put in a perfect position on the rail, find some space on the corner, and let this horse go. And I can't see anything beating this horse in this race.
That's a fair summary, mate. Yeah. Traveling Kate. Now, it led last start, or sat outside leader. We led. Do you give that any chance at $8?
Look, what it did, and I know this very well because I was on Wine Glass Bay, but it got an exceptionally good ride, and it actually came back up the inside about 1 or 2 off the rail and got a split. Now, don't get me wrong, it won, but Wine Glass Bay did a hell of a lot more work than what Travelling Kate did in that race. So I don't necessarily think that's Travelling Kate, even though it did get the chocolates at the 1,800 metres, is going to be up to Wine Glass Bay if it doesn't need to do as much work as what it did last start.
Yeah, definitely, because Too Much Caviar should lead. Travelling Kate will come wide, probably put pressure on too much caviar, and obviously I reckon J-Mac might just smoke the pipe behind and wait for the gap because he know it'll come.
That's
Just
it.
hopefully not too late.
Yes, exactly. Look, you'd be a little bit more worried if it was over 1,100 metres. The gaps don't appear as often as what they do over the 2,000 metres, where horses don't necessarily get the distance.
Yeah. But Wine Glass Bay, one start at 2,000. I know it says 000. It was 0.9 away in fourth in England. So I think it can run 2,000. So don't look at the stats and go, oh, can't run 2,000. Believe
I'm not
us.
worried about that one little bit.
Believe us, I went and watched it and there's no issue. Yeah. Race A, Moonee Valley, Carlisle Stakes listed. I thought I'd preview this because this is a good race, but there's a lot of angles here, and I think speed map is absolutely vital in this race. So that's why I thought I'd preview it. And yeah, so favourite here is Omni Man 330, Generation 420 first up. Okramantula, I probably butchered it. Have a good laugh, everyone at home. It's $4.40. Sweet Ride $7.50. Hypothetical 13s, Snapper 19s, Ashford Street 20s, and Express Pass 26s, and Limwest Kubi $41. Now, speed map here, Snapper from one. He will lead and he will use the rail. We know how effective this horse can be when it finds the rail. So that is one guarantee, is Snapper finds the rail here. Omni Man took a sit last start, and some say it should have won. Will they do that again from barrier 2 or sit outside leader? Don't know. Okramantula led last start from a wide barrier, so gets barrier 4 here. So they could be 3 wide, no cover if Willow isn't switched on here, and I think that's a big thing. D-lane for Willow here. What does Willow do? I reckon he might take a sit here. It's just Willow. He likes to do his own thing. But I think they should push forward and sit outside later as the 1,000 metres is basically a turning the whole way round the whole track. So closer to rail is very vital here. I'm worried about Generation here. Will it want to have a gut buster first up? I don't think so. So first up, they could be 3 wide, cover, midfield, Sweet Ride should get the pervy running transit through from 3 and pounce on them late if they go hard up front. D Moore needs to be wide awake here on hypothetical because barrier 5, he could be 3 wide, no cover if he's not ready to go. Could find the perfect spot and running, but he could be 3 wide, as I said. Haven't seen D Moore be in the winner's circle after riding some winners. It might be just down. This might be the one that gets him back, though. Solid pace up front, especially being a 1,000-metre race. I've landed on Omni Man here. I believe it should have won last start, had the inside draw and pace. But the jockey elected to take a sit, which I think was fine. They went pretty quick up front early. At the 500-metre mark, the horse looked to be a little bit flat-footed, but I feel just Geordie Childs waited for 2 strides to time his run when the gap would open, when they were going to straighten, and use his full momentum and not have to wait. But he had to slightly check off heels and only went down by a whisker. I feel that was the difference. Some might disagree and say the wheels might have been turning because the rain did arrive and it was raining at the time. But one thing we did learn, this horse can take a sit behind the leaders. Likely to happen again in my books. Like last start, I want to be with this horse that is fit, racing well, and not these horses that are first and second up on a high pressure 1,000 metres. Sweet Ride, clear danger, maps perfectly to get the right run like last start. Only concern will be, will there be a gap and open for it to win? Could say the same thing about Omni Man, but I think it's a 2-horse race for me. Generation, I'm worried about the map and having a gut buster first up. So I think they're going to be wide. Don't want to be doing that. Acromantula only went down by a small margin and will improve with an inside draw. Will strip fitter second up. Can win. D-lane off for C. Williams. I know some say that's a positive. I just wonder if he's ridden the horse before. I really don't like Craig Williams on leaders because he goes way too slow, or he just does what he wants on horses. Yes, he gets it right, then wrong most of the time, but this one you're gonna have to get it right to be winning. Hypothetical, bring some X factor. Doesn't get well in the weights due to its handicap rating, but I'd loved its jump outs. I'm just worried about D Moore where he lands in running from barrier 5. If you like it, not going to talk you out of it. Snapper jumped out well after its return from a gut buster against Jigsaw back in the autumn. If it brings those track stats to the races and finds that rail and it's hot, it can be winning. But I don't know. Hot race. Map is the key here, and that's why I've landed on Omni Man. Matty?
Yeah, good. I'm glad you mentioned Snapper. Now, barrier number 1 is going to go to the lead. John McNeil on board. If there is a bit of a monorail happening at the Valley, has it got the pace to burn these?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, I don't know who.
Let's put it this way. I'd be having something, if you're going to be betting into this race, I'll be having something on Snapper now because you're not going to get
Yeah,
$18 if any of the races beforehand you've got any type of leader bias. This
yeah,
will start at $8.
100%. And you just have your say you're a $20 punter. You
Yep.
just have $5 each way now.
Just have $5 on it.
Take the take the deductions,
Yep.
and if it doesn't firm, you don't touch it again. And if it does firm, you go and have another 10 on it.
100%. I can see
Um,
how you've got down to Sweet Ride, and also Omni Man. I think from barrier number 2, barrier number 3, they're just going to sit right behind Snapper. And look, I had a good look at Generation, but from that gate, it's going to have to do a hell of a lot of work.
yeah, and $4.20. I don't want to be getting involved. That's probably a bet fair lay for me. I reckon it drifts as well. So it could start $6 because they will, if we believe it's going to play the track the way it is, they're going to come for your hypotheticals, Acro, Mantula, Snapper, Omni Man, Sweet Rides. So they'll come for a few here.
You could definitely have those 3 horses that you mentioned. Obviously, Omni Man being your main bet, but you could have something on Sweet Ride at 7s and something on Snapper at 20s.
Yeah, it's a bet you can have 3, 4 bets and get it right.
Yep. No, I like that.
Around the grounds, Matty, what are you going to do this week?
Well, we're going to stay in Sydney. That is what we're going to do. We're going to go race number 2, and hopefully got a J-Mac double with Marquise. Look, it's taken a bit of a time for this horse to warm up, but it's got going now. Last preparation was exceptionally good. Last start at Warwick Farm, over the last 200 metres, exceptional. So I think this horse from barrier number 1, it'll need a little bit of luck, but I think J-Mac will definitely have these horses covered. So, look, I think Marquise is the horse to beat here. If you're looking for any type of value, just have a look at horse number 2, Bazooka. Again, some decent value there. It is dropping back in distance, which is a bit of concern. And may find a few of these that are a little bit sharper than us, but definitely Marquise is going to be my play within race number 3, Worm. We'll be jumping to a race number 7. Horse were back before 2 weeks ago, race number 1, J-Mac on board. We don't say this very often. J-Mac owes us Calibus. It was a good thing beat. It got trapped on the rails, couldn't get out, had to go over heels, came home very well, and exceptionally unlucky. Now, what it will need to do, there's a Gay Waterhouse and Bot Horse in this race. Les Vampire. Now, it was a really good win. I'm pretty sure it was at Warwick Farm on Maiden. So I'm going to be exceptionally interested to see how that form stacks up here, because I expect Les Vampire to go forward. Caliber sitting slightly behind it, and it's going to need to get past it. But I believe that Calibus is the horse that will win this race. I think it'll get Les Vampire in the last 100 metres. So, Worm, they're my round of rounds. I'm just going to mention, I was going to have something on political debate. It doesn't sound like it's going to run this weekend. Sounds like it's going to run next weekend. And that will be one that I'll keep an eye on. Running 5th to Pericles last week before, sorry. it's one that I'm definitely going to keep an eye on political debate. So I think we'll mention that next week.
Yeah, nice, mate. I like them. Around the grounds for me, I'm going to head over to New Zealand for my first one. Te Rapa, race 8, number 8 here. So if you are a regular listener, you know I've dropped hints about this horse in form lines and New Zealand form. I was a huge fan of this horse in the autumn when it was coming over. It had one run, had a bad run, sent back to New Zealand, has beaten Prowess over 1600 in New Zealand. So not many people would know that. And we know how that horse went over in the autumn in Sydney. This horse was sent over for the Hobartville Guineas Path and only lasted the Hobartville against Arp Cavan and Azapenko. We're in that race. We're only beaten 4 lengths. Watched its only trial in New Zealand for this and looks to have come back better. It won its jump out over 900 metres, jumped, led, win. I believe it's going to live up to the hype I have on this horse. It's currently $6. Te Rapa, race 8, number 8, here. And then I'll round things off in Adelaide, race 8, number 14. See You in Heaven, lovely win first up, looking what it's meeting second up. Doesn't concern me at all. No speed on the inside. It's mainly on the outside. You can use Savati XL to come across and sit just behind them off the speed at Morphettville Parks. We know how that track will play. Currently 210. It's a good price to take. Race 8, number 14. See You in Heaven. Multi Matty. I'm going to have 2. It's footy bets. They're both line bets. Pies to win over 31.5 against Essendon, and Port Adelaide to win over 40 points against Richmond. Matty, you're chucking in?
Was that 131 against Essendon?
It should be. I'm so shocked at this line at $1.90. Fill your boots up.
Mate, we'll be including two that we've mentioned: Wineglass Bay, the place, and Marquise, the place.
Beautiful. That comes to $6. So cheer that home, punters. Not multi, Pineapple of the Week. Wave Rider Boy I went with. He might be just a milk drinker. I don't know. Jury's out for me. But I pass it on with confidence. So, Matty, where are you pineappling this week?
So, for all the reasons that I've previously mentioned, we'll be going race 7 in Sydney, Calabas. Now, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, very unlucky not to win last start. The only concern I've got is this Gay Waterhouse horse. You mentioned that there's going to be a leader bias. Hopefully not too much, because I think we're going to be sitting just behind it. Calabas, I think, will get the sit of the race. All it needs to do is get a little bit of luck on the corner. Hopefully not get too much traffic there. I think J-Mac will, considering what he did on this horse last start, he will make sure it gets some air. And if it gets some air with 300 metres to go, I can't see this horse losing.
Nice. So there you go, punters. Winners galore, especially Pineapple. Yeah, you've got me confident, Matty. So thank you. Anything to add, Matty, before we end it?
No, mates. As you mentioned, it does feel like we're a bit of a week on, week off at the moment. This is the week off. A couple of interesting races, but definitely not to the same quality as what we saw last weekend. But more the progressive types that we could be seeing next autumn, I'd more likely say, than this spring.
Yep. I think it's Memsey Stake next week.
Yes, definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, so can't wait to dive into that. So yeah, we'll be back next week. I'll be back in Melbourne, enjoying the cold. I highly recommend anyone out there come to the Whit Sundays. It is definitely well worth it. So yeah, that's my little tip. Oh,